6 years ago, I began the campaign to help clean up my hometown of Oldham from the cartels and deliver justice for the town's children that were groomed and gang raped. Few believed the information I was sharing at the time. It only got worse. To avoid any doubt, and I've heard all of this latest stuff of fake news and arresting and the censoring of freedom of speech. To avoid any doubt, my name is Raja Mia. Greater Manchester Police have my details, so I'm in no way worried. You don't have to come and find me, just phone me, guys. You got my phone number as well if you want to come and arrest me for this. But this is what I'm going to share, first of all. To avoid any doubt and to be very, very clear, this is what I started to expose. And it led to multiple arrests, fake, malicious arrests. But the leader of Oldham Council has direct links with multiple dangerous criminals, and it is in the public interest that this information be known. I'm not responsible for her face drooping on one side because she's used too much Botox, nor am I responsible for her being chased down the street by an old man during lockdown, when she shouldn't have been out knocking on doors campaigning anyway. The MP, Jim McMahon, has been reported by at least one journalist aligned with him, friendly with him. He engages with publicly on social media as having supported the getaway driver of the cop killer Dale Cregan. There is also a picture I shared many years ago now where he stood alongside a convicted killer promoting his tyre business. His garage, yes. What is, the leader of the council, now a Secretary of State, thumbs up going and attending a local garage that is run by someone who's come out of prison having killed someone. A deep dive on Twitter will also evidence how the MP Jim McMahon has celebrated election victories inside the mosques where he attended parties, thanking the congregation, quote, for all the votes, quote. When Arooj Shah's car was blown up, Greater Manchester Police failed to release the video of the incident. The video clearly shows the car was left unlocked and the window smashed after the door had already been opened. 3 years later, they are yet to charge anyone. It's as if the car was never blown up. The most senior police officer in Oldham, the Greater Manchester police officer, most senior one, arrived under much fanfare, was a man called Chief Superintendent Chris Bowen. He mysteriously disappeared. No statement has been made by Andy Burnham or anyone in Greater Manchester Police as to why he has disappeared. Where has he gone? His disappearance followed him being mocked at a council meeting where members of the public, in fact councillors, were challenging him, asking him about Arooj Shah's blown up car. Apparently it was still a live investigation. Jim McMahon, MP, remember, at the time her car was blown up, attempted to frame me. And he attempted to frame me by running to the Daily Mail. You'll still find the article there. The Daily Mail, go and look it up. McMahon alleged an article I had written was responsible and incited the incident. You are all following the riots now, yeah? This is 3 years ago, 4 years ago. He went running to the newspaper claiming an article I had written was responsible. Unfortunately for McMahon, unfortunately for me, the article I wrote had been published, time-stamped, digital time-stamp published, well after her car had been blown up. My understanding is even Boris Johnson, as the Prime Minister, sent Arooj Shah flowers at the time. It was reported in the national media as a racially motivated crime. It was passed off as a far-right crime or an incitement to far-right as a consequence of things I had said, which, by the way, was objecting to the grooming and gang rape of little girls in my town. To this day, not a single Oldham Labour Party politician will question the links between convicted gangsters and senior Labour Party politicians that run my town. No fake news here. Those of you who followed my work for a number of years will know how I've evidenced how postal vote fraud is endemic in Oldham, as are dodgy deals between councillors and their cartel business partners, often involving public assets. This is only possible with the complicity of public officials that lead Oldham Council. Last year, the council failed to find one suitable candidate to replace the retiring chief executive, Harry Caffrell. We know him as Dirty Harry Caffrell because of the way he overreaches his role in defending Arood Shah, which is why perhaps Arood Shah brought him back, and he back on from his retirement. He's back on 3 days a week, working home, God knows what, 1 day or 2 days a week, and now he's been extended to 4 days a week. The council, by the way, is on the brink of bankruptcy. Come to Oldham, and you will see that we are anything but the far-right conspiracy theorists that the Labour Party claim us to be. The very people that are aligned with the cartels are the same people helping to cover up the abuse of children. The politicians who first claimed barefaced lies and attempted to have me prosecuted, well, they've now been forced to write to the government demanding a public inquiry. It's took us 5 years, but the council has had to write to the government for a public inquiry. Of course, the government will say no. One of the reasons why I believe is because one of Keir Starmer's inner circle, a man called Jim McMahon, Secretary of State, was leader of Oldham Council at the time of the cover-up. The Labour Party, by the way, I'm still waiting to hear from them. They wrote to me and I responded. They're attempting to sue me for defamation. Well, bring it on. Let's go to the High Court. Let's go to the High Court, McMahon. Let's go to the High Court, Keir Starmer. Let's see who's telling the truth. Your council, by the way, has recently just had to humiliatingly accept that Andy Burnham's assurance review failed to get to the truth. In many ways, it was a cover-up in its own way, wasn't it? I genuinely believe that Greater Manchester Police are actively working with corrupt town hall officials and criminal politicians. I genuinely believe that. And the reason they are is to silence those of us who are speaking out against what is taking place in this town. This isn't just two-tier policing I'm talking about. This is the breakdown of democracy. That's what's taking place in this town. The name of the police operation, yeah, they even created a police operation to spy on the townsfolk, to compile dossiers on people who dared share information about the gang rape of children and the corruption in the town hall. And that police operation is called Operation Hexagon. And to this day, Andy Burnham, the Greater Manchester Mayor, refuses to launch an investigation into it. This is Stasi-like. Why? Because we're working class. They would not get away with this in Didsbury. They would not get away with this in Hebden Bridge, but they'll get away with it in Oldham. Having failed to silence the opposition in Oldham, Andy Burnham's police force is now complicit in ignoring murder threats. That's right, murder threats. Many of you will have seen that I've now submitted an email, a letter, demanding Kate Green, the Police and Crime Commissioner, that's who Burnham appointed, who's also a former Labour Party MP, so I'm not holding my breath, but that she uses her powers as Police and Crime Commissioner to investigate the criminal actions of Greater Manchester Police. Only last week, I had a conversation with a PC, Alex Wild, I think his name was. Young lad, I'm sure it's got nothing to do with him, way above his pay grade. He's refusing to give me the name of the detective inspector that is overseeing a dossier of emails I've submitted to him that clearly outlines a number of cartel foot soldiers who are linked to the Labour Party and the Oldham Independents, linked to the political establishment in this town, who are openly inciting violence against me. Why won't they go and arrest them? Are they the wrong colour? No, it's not just about colour. In fact, this isn't about colour. This is about politics. And this is about the politics of the Labour Party. And so, there is no doubt to try and silence me. Greater Manchester Police, aided by the Crown Prosecution Service, it would not have been possible without the complicity of the Crown Prosecution Service, attempted and failed to maliciously prosecute me after fabricating multiple cases against me. The most recent case collapsed in court this May. I had spent just under 3 years on bail. Why? To those of you in the rest of the country who are just waking up to what's going on, why have they tried to silence me? My name is Raja Mir. I have no interest in people taking to the streets and throwing petrol bombs and brakes and pushing wheelie bins down the streets. That, as we're finding out, will get us nowhere. In fact, it will get us into a worse place than we were before. What I do is take out politicians at the ballot box. And in Oldham, as a direct consequence of what I've done, we have taken out 3 successive Labour Party leaders in 3 Labour Party safe seats, and we've decimated their majority, where they once had 47 seats in the council to now only having 27. In fact, the only reason Arud Shah is still in power is because she's entered into a pact with a convicted fraudster and a man who likes to dress up as a Nazi. Welcome to Oldham.
Do not fear them. Do not fear any of them. On the 20th of November 2003, James Ignatius O'Rourke McMahon was elected councillor for the Failsworth East Ward of Oldham. Deeply ambitious, he ruthlessly rose to power, and by 2011, he was already leader of the council. In 2015, exploiting a Labour Party loophole, he became MP for Oldham West and Royton. If only the people of the town knew then what they now know. Do not fear them. Do not fear any of them.